rise on U.S. Bank Stadium from a primetime matchup. And the Vikings deliver a must-win performance, 36-28 over the Steelers. Welcome into Vikings Postgame Live, presented by Miller Lite. I'm Tatum, Everett. Another game coming down to the final play. But this time, the good guys win it. The Vikings improve to 6-7 on the season, keeping themselves in the playoff picture. Now we have got a lot to get to, actually, in this show. We'll be joined by KJ Osborne live down on the field. We'll also hear from head coach Mike Zimmer. We'll do some film breakdown, and we'll get to Gabe Henderson later on in the show alongside the guys for Between the Lines. And you can see this guy next to me right now. This is Gopher Great Ron Johnson joining us after that win. And I know, we were up here sweating it, and we thought that they had a lead, the 29-0 lead collapsing there in the back half. But hey, a win is a win. Yeah, I mean, that's the key. It's you get a win. And we all hope the game will be out of reach when it was 26-0. And then, again, comes down to the last play. I just think the Vikings like doing that. I think they want like they're writing a storybook ending. They like the drama, right? So hopefully this means a playoff run. They're battle tested, so every game seems like it's going to, no matter who they're playing, it's going to come down to the last play. They knew coming into this, though, that the Steelers were more of a second-half team. They always seem to start slow and get themselves back into things. They're the third best team in the league in fourth quarter scoring. Yeah, and you look at the Ravens game specifically. I mean, that was one where they should have had it. The Ravens that should have been their game. But again, mistakes by Lamar Jackson. And like you said, the Steelers kept going. And then when it came down to the end, the Ravens didn't have enough. Steelers found a way to win. I think and then for the Steelers, thinking the same thing. They're like, look, we've been here before. Yeah. I think they thought they had a chance. They did have a chance. They did have a chance. And Harrison Smith made a great play. And that's the key. It comes down to an inch. If he's in the wrong spot, kind of like the Lions game, it could have been a touchdown, but Harrison Smith was where he was supposed to be and came out the right way. Yeah, we talked about this on the Vikings pregame show, that the NFL is a game of inches. It's a margin of error that is so slim. But coming up in this show, we will talk about Dalvin Cook. Have a day, young man. What a day to come back a week and a half after injuring that shoulder. There also was some aggressive play calling on first down. Big Ben was also feeling the pressure from the defense. Let's head out to the highlights of this show, though. Let's see what went on in this game. Here's Justin Jefferson had a great first half in this contest, striking first on a 14-yard touchdown catch to make it 6-0. And that's just Kirk Cousins throwing the ball on time. He knew he had man coverage, Jefferson. Then the offensive line gave him time. And, of course, the gritty. Well, you can't miss the gritty. And Kirk, excited to see that one. Coming up here in the second quarter, Dalvin Cook, his first of two scores on the day, a 29-yard scamper. And that's just vision. That's something that we've talked about, the difference between him and Alexander Madison, is that vision right there to know, like, I'm going to bounce it and I'm faster than you. Untouched into the end zone. And then Dalvin would do it again in the second quarter with a 7-yard touchdown, barreling on in to make it a 23-0 game. And Ezra Cleveland gets the credit for that. That's a great edge block. I mean, he demolished the DB. And he did what he was supposed to do, and then Dalvin Cook cuts it up perfectly. There was a lot of names returning to this defense. Bashaud Breeland's played all season, and he comes up with a huge play here, getting an interception off Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, and hopefully now Breeland's text or tweet will be a lot nicer because he's happier, he had a good game. But that's just the receiver gave up on the play. Big Ben thought he still was going to run a slant, and Breeland stayed with it. The Steelers did come back into this ball game. It was the Vikings up 29-0 until this amazing throw by Kirk Cousins to KJ Osborne, a 62-yard touchdown. And I love the DB at the end throwing a temper tantrum. Like he literally wanted some kind of push-off, but they're both jostling for position, chicken fighting as they call it. And KJ Osborne comes out on top. But Kirk Cousins made that play happen with his eyes. He looked up that middle safety, and he put him in a two-way bind. But as we mentioned, the Vikings love their dramatics, and the Steelers were in this final play able to force an incompletion from Big Ben to Pat Freiermuth. Harrison Smith there knocking the ball out, and that would be the final play and the game winner right there for the Vikings. Final score 36-28. Let's take a look at those final stats. You see the rushing yards, 242 today. The time of possession very equal in this one. Wow, even the same amount of first downs. It really was just a very small margin of error in this one. Yeah, and it always comes down to the run game, and I think that's what Mike Zimmer, we know he wants to do that.
I think going forward, what Clint Kubiak has to do is call the game as it goes. Don't come into this with a game plan. Today, the run game was working, and they stuck with it. There's going to be days where the pass game is working, and J.J. is killing it. When that happens, just keep going. And that's the whole point of this deal is you have to go where the plays are being called. Don't think that, okay, this is what I had called, I'm sticking with it. And today you saw that. You saw them attacking on first down, and you saw them taking advantage of the run game when there was not enough guys to, plug the gaps.
And something to note, though, within that first half, T.J. Watt left the game with a groin injury, so the Steelers were missing their best defensive pass rusher.
Yeah, and I think the pass rush, that's where they were missing him, because in the run game, he hasn't done much. They've given up 130.9 yards. That's the worst they've done in a season since 1965. So this is not the Steelers. Like, my dad played for the Steelers in 78, 79, 86, and so I've heard the Steelers stories. I grew up with Mel Blount. I know what the Steelers are about. And Claypool tried it. Like, he did the little petty slap in the face because they want to be bullies, but it didn't work.
No, and speaking of, it was almost the Vikings offense that were the bullies right in the beginning. Very aggressive on first down play calling. What did you like from how Clint Kubiak attacked this game plan?
Yeah, because when you have Dalvin Cook, everybody assumes you're going to run the ball on first down, and that's just what they've done in the past. They've been real predictable. Well, when you throw it, you end up in second and short, and now running the ball on second and short is a lot easier to get a first down, but you're putting them on their heels. And then when you do the play action on first down, it actually works because they're like, okay, is he going to run it? Is he going to pass it? And that's where Kirk Cousins found success, play action on first down, and Clint had it dialed up.
Yeah, Kirk had a solid night, 14 of 31, 216 yards. He did have those 2 interceptions, but just the beginning of the game and the way they set the tone, you wish that could have gone on the entire game, but Kirk really wasn't the reason down the stretch that there were so many deficiencies, I guess, in the offense.
Yeah, in the offensive line, too, I think when you're running the ball, you give the offensive line a chance to be bullies. And so when it is time to pass, the defensive line is tired. And that's the key for this.
Let's check out this next play here. Kirk Cousins on the play action.
And so this is just another play action on first down, but Kirk Cousins' eyes is what makes this play happen. He makes the safety get out of there. When he sees and knows, he has the over route because his man coverage, and he snaps his head around. Same thing here. He's going to snap his head around right away, locate the middle. He puts him in a bind. Now that guy is talking. They're double teaming Justin Jefferson, which this is the big one that KJ Osborne on first down. And now they know he has man-to-man. But Kirk Cousins putting the ball in the running back's stomach, snapping the head around, finding the defender. When he locates him right away, stare him down and put him in a bind. Because your peripheral, you're going to have your receivers crossing. You know what you're doing. Make that safety second guess. And he did it every time. He second guessed where he was going to go, and Kirk went to the right guy. So Kirk it was his day.
It was his day. He was able to take advantage of the Steelers secondary, who was missing Joe Hayden. So again, just another playmaker for the Steelers out, and the Vikings able to capitalize on those opportunities.
Yeah, because that happens to the Vikings. Usually it's Danielle Hunter out or somebody's out, Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks, Patrick Peterson, and teams take advantage of the Vikings. Well, it went their way this time.
JJ with a good day, 7 receptions, 79 yards, and a touchdown. Really was hot there in that first half run.
Yeah, and Kirk Cousins found him early with the slants, found him early with the over routes. And then I like because he came back to KJ Osborne, because you have to take Justin Jefferson when you have man coverage. Like that first play was an out route. Give it to him. Man to man, Justin Jefferson, all day, every day. Throw the ball to JJ, and Kirk did a good job of that.
Looks like spaghetti out there on a scatter chart.
Yeah, it's a lot of over routes. He had some over and then back to the post corner. But again, this is just putting him in different spots. Put him in the slot. Put him out wide. You have to move your weapon around, kind of like the Chiefs do with Tyreek Hill. And you see that with Jamar Chase. Guys are using their weapon, and I like that. You don't just have Thielen in the slot or just KJ in the slot. Move Justin around because they're going to double him, and now you're forcing the safeties to show their hand. And they showed it every time, which gave Kirk an opportunity to understand the coverage, because when you move JJ in that motion, he saw right away, like, oh, okay, I know this guy and that guy are covering JJ. I'm going to go to the other guy.
And speaking of Thielen, not in this game. He suffered an injury, obviously, last game against the Lions. And so the Vikings needed someone to step up in his absence, and that was KJ Osborne. 3 catches, 83 yards. It was only 3 catches, but that big 62-yard touchdown really helped the Vikings have confidence there in the second half after the Steelers really started to get hot.
Well, it was 9 targets, though, so that's the one thing. Kirk was looking his way. It's just they didn't connect as much. He did have a couple balls get knocked down, a couple possible holding calls not called. But, yeah, knowing he was wide receiver 2, he woke up, understood the assignment, and he did it. And then Keenan McCardell, though, we have to give our hats off to a new receivers coach who's got Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, and Justin Jefferson playing at a high level, and that's to the coach.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the 9 targets for KJ. I mean, when you see that, did he do what he needed to be done to kind of fill in the void for Adam Thielen?
Yeah, the minute his number was called, he called the big play on the touchdown, and he was where he was supposed to be. On the other over route that Justin Jefferson caught, KJ Osborne was the clear-out guy. So, again, it's just doing your job so that your guy, your teammate or your best friend can succeed. And that's the key of being a good receiver, is not just always wanting the ball, because we've seen that in guys. I'm not going to say any names like Odell Beckham, but you see that in guys where they are very, it's all about me. If I don't get the ball, I'm going to pout, maybe mad. These guys are all like, they're happy for whoever scores. They celebrate together, and that's the key of a good receiving core. If you're happy for your teammate, it's great. If you see guys pouting after another guy gets 7 catches and he's walking off, it's probably not a guy that's going to last long.
Well, we know one person that is celebrating tonight. Not just one, but it is Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer, and he's at the podium right now.
Okay, another fun night. That team that played in the first half for us was pretty darn good, and I think could probably beat anybody. The team that played in the second half probably could get beat by anybody. So, there was a lot of really, really good things in the first half. We ran the ball. I thought Cook was outstanding. Our offensive line opened up a lot of holes. Defensively, we were getting after the quarterback and playing good in coverage. And then the second half, we were up by 26 or something, or 29, and we throw an interception on the first play of the drive. And then, we get two turnovers, and we end up kicking 2 field goals at the start of the second half, which, we got the ball down in there and we probably could have put them away. But anyway, we fought like crazy, like we always do. The crowd was outstanding tonight. I know Pittsburgh travels really well with their fans. But we kept the TV ratings up too, so that's good. Every week now we do it. All right, questions?
Does it kind of feel like a microcosm of the entire season, encapsulated in 2 halves?
I don't know so much about the 2 halves. Last week was kind of like this. We didn't play good in the first half, and we played pretty good in the second half. It came down to last play, and we lost. I don't know. I keep trying to teach these guys how to finish. We talk about it all the time, being detailed about your job, being detailed. And I do think there was some, especially in the first half, guys were detailed about everything. They played with a lot of energy. I guess we haven't really been in a game where we've been up by so much. And, I was still trying to be aggressive with everything really that we were doing, and we didn't execute as well.
Mike, it's just hard to find superlatives enough for Dalvin Cook, how tough he is and how he shows up. He's the heartbeat of this team, but just an incredible performance. What are your thoughts when you see him just go off?
Yeah, I think he's a warrior. He comes out and competes. He's a great leader. He's a great competitor. He wants to play. Eric Sugarman, our trainer, texted him today and said, "Hey, are you sure you're okay and good to go?" And he says, "I have no regrets. I'm ready to go. This is why I do this, because I want to play." And that's the kind of guy he is. So there was no doubt in his mind he was playing tonight.
When did you kind of start thinking during the week that you might have a chance of having him?
Well, they told me he was doing really, really well in his rehab, and I guess today's Thursday. I guess Tuesday they said there's a good chance, and then Wednesday they said they think he's good to go. Or Tuesday after practice, I think they said that.
There were some massive holes in the running game, especially in the first half. What did you see just from that part of the game?
I talked to our I talked to our whole team last night, but I told them, it's not good enough to stalemate. You get in there and you block a guy and you stalemate him. It's not good enough. We got to drive some guys off the ball. We did a really good job in the first half of getting guys removed off the line of scrimmage. The second half, they started taking an extra guy and putting him over the center and having their big guys in there. They got some stud big defensive linemen that are good players, and that eliminated us to some extent. And we're at the end, we're trying to kind of control the game with the time clock, so we didn't really try to extend some of the outside plays.
In the fourth quarter, when you off the Cousins touchdown to Osborne, you go 35.
Pardon me?
In the fourth quarter, the Cousins touchdown to Osborne, you go up 35-20. Was there any thought about going for two to make it a three-score game?
Yeah, we talked about it. We went for two last week twice and didn't get them. We haven't been very good this year in 2-point plays. I knew that they had to get 2 touchdowns and 2 extra points, and typically it's a 50-50 bargain there. So that was the thinking.
Did you enjoy dusting off the old double A gap blitzes, and how do you think that kind of affected Pittsburgh's O-line?
Well, it gave them some problems, especially early in the first half, and then the second half they changed up a couple things. They changed protection a little bit. They blocked one up on I can't remember, but they blocked one up. They were changing protection pretty good. First half, they changed the protection from what they did the week before, and once we kind of figured it out, it was pretty good.
Kendricks and Barr were talking about how much pride they take in the defense, being able to close out the game. For you, seeing what happened at the end of the first half where the defense doesn't give up a score, and then also that pass breakup by Harrison Smith, how do you feel about the way your defense played in those 2 critical 2 minutes?
Well, I talked to the defense last night too about the 2-minute draw. I'm disappointed at the end of the game. We let the guy get out of bounds like 2 or 3 times. The game would have been over. The game would have been over if we got when they called pass interference and picked the flag up. If we got the first down there, too, the game would have been over. So there's all these kind of things. But, it's in the first half, I look out there and we got Pierce and Tomlinson and Barr and Kendricks and Peterson, and that's kind of what I expect it to look like.
Like, there was a point when you still had a shutout going, and I think Chris Boyd had a taunting penalty. Did it feel like that kind of flipped momentum a little bit and kept their drive going?
Well, they're going to have to punt there, and that allowed them to score. So, you get to that point. You get to that point right there, and they're going to punt the ball, and now and if we go down and score, the game is over probably. Never say over with this team, but. But things like that that's what I'm talking about. You have a penalty on defense, you get a holding penalty on offense and make it 2nd and 30 or whatever the heck it was. It's hard to win games when you do stupid things like that.
Mike, at any point during the game,
excuse me?
At any point during the game, were you thinking, oh, here we go again?
Yeah, the whole time. The whole time in the second half, I'm like, yeah.
Mike, just talking to Kendricks and some of the other guys, how enjoyable it is to sack someone, yes, but when you're sacking Ben Roethlisberger and he said he could barely get his arms around him, as a coach, when you're seeing your guys take this guy down, what does it feel like?
Yeah, when we used to play him when I was in Cincinnati, he was always tough to sack because he's so big and so strong. Harry had a good one on him tonight, came off the backside, and I think Watts had one, and I don't know who all else, but it was nice. And I think Barr early in the game affected him on one of the second play or something maybe. Because I think he beat the back pretty good on that one, if I remember right. But thank you.
Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were actually just talking about what Mike Zimmer was saying before he finished up at the podium. Yeah, he talks about a lot of and this is what happened last week, too. A lot of times these final plays or these final drives, their defense is not able to get the guys out of bounds with enough time. He said earlier in the drive it would have been an end of the ball game kind of situation. They wouldn't have had that final play there.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you're supposed to keep the guys in front of you, and then you want to actually keep them inside, like corral them. And guys are missing tackles. Somehow they're getting underneath, and the guys are not in the right spot. Guys are falling deep, and the Cam Dancer last week, same thing. Andre Patterson brought that up that, hey, you're supposed to have your heels on the goal line, and then all of a sudden you back up 4 yards to the end zone. So little things like that. I don't know if you call it like a mental lapse or whatever, but I do know when it comes to time, like giving them too much time back. That's another thing Mike Zimmer kind of brings up too. And I don't know if that's on him, if he's saying it's his fault or what, but I know people have brought that up there. Why don't they have a game theory coach that can remind them of the time and things like that? But, at the end of the day, you can make jokes about yourself when you win. If they had lost this game, I think it would have come up.
It would have sounded like our last post-game show, where it's like it's a reflection of the coaching decisions and things like that. So it's pretty interesting how the tides can turn like that. Yeah. But a week and a half ago, we saw Dalvin Cook on the cart getting taken off the field with a shoulder injury. Tonight, he wears the shoulder bracket. He's all good to go. And he starts in this game and sets a first-half franchise record with 100 and I have the number here. Well, maybe I didn't. 153 yards, I think it is, in the first half, breaking Adrian Peterson's record from 2012. He rushes for 200-plus yards. I mean, I just want you to talk about or hear you talk about the effort that Dalvin Cook put in today.
Well, one, it's like playing hurt. So if you're injured or you're hurt, and I think that's the key with NFL players, and that's any player, but he's injured. So the whole thing, he's hurt. He's not injured. So the thing is pain management. And how much worse can it get? If it's just dislocated and there was no other injury or nothing else wrong with it, he was going to go. I think the extra days of rest, too, that helped him out, being able to, come back on a Thursday night and get it in because everybody assumed, like, is he gone for 3 or 4 weeks? Mm-hmm. Hey, but he shows he's a guy that can heal fast and he can get back. Some people are superhuman like that, where they just heal faster than others and they can deal with the pain. So, the other key about Dalvin Cook is they gave him a chance to run with those lanes. That 3-4 defense, they cut it up like Swiss cheese.
Well, we knew the Steelers' run defense was susceptible.
Yeah, and this is what you see here. You see the block on block, big on big. Ezra Cleveland, great block, seal inside, and then Dalvin Cook's speed makes the key. I don't know what the DBs are doing because they're not within 5 yards of Dalvin Cook. And then same thing there. Another great seal block by Ezra, and he cuts off of it. This one there, just another sealed down block. Dalvin's vision. He should have hit the hole off the tackle, but then the tackle gets his guy turned, and it's called take your guy where he wants to go. And then another one, Ezra Cleveland, a punishing block. And that's Dalvin Cook following his butt. They say, read the butt of your blocker. He read his butt. Ezra kicked him out. He was able to go. If Ezra turns him, he's going to go outside of him. So Dalvin Cook's vision is probably one of the best, next to Derrick Henry. I think those two are 1 and 2 in the NFL at being able to just have vision for that hole. But Dalvin is a lot faster. He's a lot quicker, which makes him a better weapon. And he catches the ball better out the backfield than, he's like a Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. So he's a Derrick Henry on the ground and a Christian McCaffrey in the air. And I think we've only scratched the surface of what Dalvin Cook can do. And he did that with a bad shoulder. So, I mean, again, they're scratching the surface. I think the sky's the limit for Dalvin, but it's the offensive line, I think, having themselves in a day. Everybody was so down on them. Christian Darrisaw, and he did that without Darrisaw.
He did.
That's what's even crazier. So that's the key for success, though. First down, make it easy on them, and then go second and short, and Dalvin Cook is just a tough cookie to deal with.
We've talked about this, though. Dalvin's been good this season, but he hadn't had that one big game. So it was really great to see that happen today. Plus now we've got 10 days before the next game. So he'll be able to rehab that shoulder a little bit more and be ready for the Bears up next. But the defense, also the big story of tonight. 5 sacks, 1 interception of Ben Roethlisberger. They just got a lot of pressure on Big Ben and really disrupted his rhythm for about 2.5 quarters of this game.
Yeah, and it was the DBs again. They were my key in the Fox 9 pregame show. The key was the defensive backs. And by them plastering their guys, which whenever they hit your area, you cover them. Don't cover grass. It gave them a chance to get home. And you'll see Michael Pierce benefit from that. Ben Roethlisberger has nowhere to go with the ball. He's not Lamar Jackson. So when he has nowhere to go with the ball, he has nowhere to go. He's not going anywhere.
No, he's not.
He's stuck in the house and he can't get out. He's not going to run. Like, he is scared to run. And you see that. That's DBs covering. And now that gives Pierce extra time to get home. Ben's going to pump and try to get the throw off. It doesn't work.
Yeah, Michael Pierce and Dalvin Tomlinson, great to see them back in the mix. Plus, you've got Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks back there. It was just great to see a lot of those names in the
And this is just an 8-man pressure, but then he's going to back to 3 off on the weak side. You got 5 blocking 6 and Harrison Smith. That's Ben Roethlisberger's fault and the receiver's fault. Usually if a backside DB comes, you have to yell cat, 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 or pepper, 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 something to let him know somebody's coming. And I blame that on Claypool because he just had a horrible game. Like, he all day was in a different zone. I don't know what he did this morning, but he was picking fights, dropping balls, fumbling. Like, it just was not, he was not his normal self in the beginning. In the second half, he started coming back. But early on, I don't know what was going on with him.
No, and Ben Roethlisberger, good numbers for the day, but a lot of that coming in the second half of the game. When they were when they were making their comeback with 28 points there in the second half.
And that's just him having to throw, though. Like, when they have a chance to run the ball and the game's at hand, Najee Harris is where they want to go with the ball and they want to mix it in. When you're down by 4 scores, you're going to throw the ball. So it's just the nature of the beast right there. That's kind of the butterfly effect. If we're down by 26, we're going to throw the ball. And eventually he started to figure out this Mike Zimmer defense. And honestly, he was just taking chances, and the guys were making, I think it was 3 balls that could have been an interception by Peterson or Breland, and the guy came down with the ball. And Boyd. Boyd had another one, too, where it was kind of a 50-50 ball, and he got a pass interference, and Deontay Johnson came down with it. So it was a good job by Ben Roethlisberger, but, 1 inch there or there, that's an interception for at least 2 guys.
Yes, well, that defense with all the healthy names in it, very, very productive tonight. It was almost a complete game performance. At first, we were sitting there saying, oh, my goodness, this is going to be an entire game, But, hey, a win is a win, as we said in the beginning of the show. Thank you so much to Go for Great, Ron Johnson, for joining us here on Vikings Postgame Live. You could also catch him or call him on the fan line, KFAN. He's got to go do his radio duties now, so thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you.
All right, well, up next, we have Between the Lines. We're going to go back out to U.S. Bank Stadium with Gabe Henderson, Paul Allen, and Ben Lieber.
All right, thanks, Tatum. We are here at U.S. Bank Stadium, and the Vikings in this case, always make this thing interesting. We go 29 points straight, and then we win 36-28. PA, your thoughts?
It was a very exciting game, like you said. And, Ben Lieber, I've been thinking about you all day, and really since yesterday, since I learned Dalvin Cook was going to play. Because you know better than anybody, man, being a former player but being a sideline analyst for the Vikings Radio Network, when players are 50-50 to play in games, they don't always say, yeah, I think I'll do it. And Dalvin, I'm not even going to say he was 50-50. I mean, Eric Sugarman and his staff, to patch him up off that shoulder and get him ready. But I was thinking about you because I know the level of appreciation you have for players.
Yeah.
When they're 50-50, they opt to play and push through the pain. Look what Dalvin did tonight, man.
I can't put it in words what it takes to do that. I mean, he popped his shoulder out,
11 days ago.
11 days ago.
Crazy.
And then he comes out not just with a shoulder that pops out, but actually with a torn labrum. I mean, look, man, you all saw the harness on his arm. I mean, that's football. And when they say, hey, man, is that guy a dude? Yes. That's what they mean when is that guy a dude? That's a dude.
Yeah.
He's an absolute dude, and I'm glad that dude is on our team.
205 rushing yards to add to that. And just speaking of that fact with Dalvin with the shoulder injury, if it was a receiver or a DB or someone who didn't play running back, you would say, okay, he could probably play through it. But as a running back, you take blows, and then you got to pass block. The fact that Dalvin Cook stayed in the game, pass block, did everything he needed to do, kudos to him. This defensive side of the ball, though, PA, gave up 21 points in the fourth quarter. We did win the game, but still, you look at that and say, we got to fix that.
Well, into the game, despite Pittsburgh's offensive line not being one of the best in the NFL, if you had told me the Vikings were going to have 5 sacks, I wouldn't have believed it, simply because no Daniil, no Everson, and they're both, Daniil's out for the year, Everson probably for the year, I would assume, yet they got 5 on Ben Roethlisberger, and he's so tough to bring down. So you start there, and then they're just gasping for air at the finish line. Roethlisberger doing HOF things, trying to put a nasty loss on us, but he couldn't close on it. A lot of good things I saw from the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the best thing we saw tonight was the Minnesota Vikings victory.
Minnesota Vikings victory, 11 plays of 14 yards or more in the first half, only 3 in the second half. Ben, we still won the game, though.
Yeah. We still won the game. I mean, I was a little disappointed that we didn't make some of the adjustments that they made in the second half. But going back to that defense, that first half, that was a master class in how you disguise with the safeties. And I believe, we had the 5 sacks, and I believe that 3 of them were scot-free. They were just free rushers. And you don't just pass up free rushers just because. I mean, there's a reason why the defense, their disguise package, that caused all of that, and those guys up front just didn't have mental busts. It's because they had no idea what we were doing defensively. So, 3 sacks off of free rushers, man, that's a masterclass in disguise.
Masterclass in disguise. Dalvin Cook, kudos to you, kudos to everybody. 7 yards per carry today. Next week, we got 10 days before we get win number 7 against the Chicago Bears. Tatum, back to you.
All right, thanks, guys. It really was an electric atmosphere out at U.S. Bank Stadium, and now the Vikings have a mini bye week, as you could say. Next up for the Purple and Gold, a Monday night football game at Chicago, which should be a lot of fun, another primetime contest. The Vikings have a chance to get back to 500. Thank you so much for watching Vikings Postgame Live, presented by Miller Lite. I'm Tatum Everett. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you on Monday, next Monday.